The ballroom staff believed the woman in silver had entered through a service corridor without permission. A donor relations director blocked her path. When he caught her forearm and signaled security, widowed single father Bastian Crow stepped between them. He did not know her name. He knew only that she had knelt in the green room minutes earlier to repair the faded blue ribbon on his daughter's cello case. She had treated the nervous 11-year-old like a musician, not decoration for a fundraising dinner. Bastian asked security to verify her invitation before anyone touched her again. Then the chandeliers dimmed. The same woman walked onto the ballroom stage and was introduced as Odessa Laurent, the former child prodigy who had vanished from public life, the principal trustee's daughter, and the incoming independent chair of the Arts Foundation hosting the gala. But Odessa did not use the microphone to punish the man who had cornered her. She opened the event budget and asked why children's scholarship money had paid for luxury tables. Before we continue, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? 5 hours earlier, Bastian Crow had been underneath a concert grand piano with a flashlight between his teeth. The instrument stood in the gold ballroom of Linden House, a restored hotel overlooking Boston Harbor. Florists moved white branches between mirrored columns. Technicians tested amber lights beneath crystal chandeliers. 180 place settings waited behind velvet ropes. Bastian heard none of the glamour. He heard a faint metallic buzz near Middle C. At 39, he had spent half his life tuning and rebuilding pianos. His hands were long, careful, and scarred in places no formal glove would hide. He wore a midnight black dinner jacket because the event contract required it, but his tool roll rested open beside polished shoes. His 11-year-old daughter, Willa, waited in the green room with the youth cello ensemble. Willa's black instrument case carried a faded blue ribbon around one handle. Her mother had stitched it there before her final hospital stay. After Celia died 2 years earlier, Willa refused to replace it even when the edges frayed. Bastian kept another piece of Celia's blue velvet in his pocket. It formed a narrow sleeve for his brass A440 tuning fork. He struck the fork softly against his knee, placed its base on the piano bridge, and listened until the clean note separated from the room's electrical hum. Then he found the loose caster fitting that caused the buzz and tightened it by a quarter turn. The note cleared. The Merriwell Youth Arts Trust held the gala every winter. Its donors funded lessons, instrument rentals, and 6 regional scholarships. Willa was a finalist for one of them, though Bastian had warned her that performing at the gala and receiving a scholarship were separate things. "A stage is not a promise," he had said. "Good," Willa replied. "Promises make my bow shake." Bastian finished the piano and checked her cello before guests arrived. The bridge stood straight. The end pin held. Her bow hair needed no adjustment. Only the ribbon had come loose. He was called back to the ballroom before he could retie it. Odessa Laurent arrived alone. She was 35 and wore a liquid pewter gown with one draped sleeve. Her blue-black hair rose in a sculpted knot above a face few guests recognized. The last widely circulated photographs of her showed a 17-year-old pianist seated beneath stage lights. For 14 years, Odessa had avoided those lights. Her mother, Evelyn Merriwell, had built the trust around Odessa's childhood performances. Odessa played concert halls before she learned to drive. Every recital ended with donors touching her shoulder and telling her how lucky she was. At 17, she froze during a televised benefit. Her hands stopped over the keys. Her breathing shortened. The audience waited, while cameras remained close to her face. The family called it exhaustion. Odessa called it the moment she understood that adults would protect the event before they protected the child. She left performance, completed law school, and spent a decade advising nonprofit boards. After her mother's death, the trust deed named Odessa principal successor trustee. She delayed accepting the chair until an outside governance review could begin. The gala was her first unannounced visit. She wanted to observe the organization before the organization performed for her. In the green room, Willa struggled with the ribbon while other young musicians warmed up. Odessa paused. "May I?" she asked. Willa handed her the loose ends. Odessa tied a flat musician's knot that would not press against the case hinge. "You know cello cases?" Willa asked. "I know nervous ribbons." Willa liked her immediately. Odessa left her clutch at coat check and walked toward a quiet side corridor to steady her breathing. The donor relations director found her near the service entrance. He had spent the evening managing access after 2 uninvited social media guests tried to enter the ballroom. Odessa wore no visible donor pin. She had come from the green room and carried no invitation. He asked her to return to the lobby. Odessa explained that her credentials were with the trustee liaison. The director did not recognize her name. He assumed confidence was another method of gaining entry. His voice remained controlled, but his body blocked the corridor. When Odessa moved toward the ballroom, he caught her forearm and signaled security. Bastien had just stepped out to call Willa's ensemble coordinator. He saw Odessa's shoulders lock. He saw the director's hand. And he saw the same faded blue ribbon knot she had repaired minutes earlier. Bastien moved between them without pushing anyone. "Let go first," he said. "Then verify." The director told him to return to his vendor station. Bastien remained where he was. If she is in the wrong place, security can confirm it without holding her. One guard radioed the trustee liaison. The answer came quickly. The director released Odessa. She rubbed the place his fingers had been, but she did not threaten him or announce her title. "Thank you," she said to Bastien. Then the trustee liaison hurried around the corner, pale with alarm. 10 minutes later, Bastien stood beside Willa at the back of the ballroom as Odessa walked onto the stage. The event chair introduced her full history: former concert prodigy, non-profit counsel, principal successor trustee, incoming independent chair. Willa looked up at her father. "You defended the boss." Bastien watched Odessa place both hands on the lectern. "No," he said quietly. "I defended the woman in the hallway." On stage, Odessa began her prepared remarks. Then she noticed a budget summary beside the microphone. One line charged premium table upgrades and donor hospitality to the youth scholarship program. She stopped reading. Odessa did not accuse anyone from the stage. She finished with 3 sentences about the students, thanked the musicians, and returned the microphone to the event chair. Then she took the budget summary with her. The youth ensemble performed 20 minutes later. Willa's first note trembled. Her second settled. By the final passage, she was listening to the players around her instead of measuring the room. Bastien watched from beside the piano. Odessa watched from the shadow beyond the first table, where no camera could frame her alone. After the performance, she asked Bastien and Willa to meet her in a small rehearsal room. She thanked Bastien without turning the hallway incident into a public story. "You did not know who I was," she said. That should not have mattered. Odessa looked at the blue ribbon on Willa's cello case. It often does in rooms like this. Willa asked whether the scholarship winners had been selected. Odessa answered honestly. The process would be paused until the budget and scoring records were reviewed. Bastien saw Willa's disappointment. He also saw her straighten. "If it was not fair," she said, "I do not want a crooked yes." Odessa remembered the sentence. The following Monday, she appointed an outside accounting firm and an independent music educator to review 4 years of scholarship decisions. She removed herself from all applicant scoring because her contact with Willa created an appearance of influence. Bastien did not ask her to make an exception. He returned to his workshop, a narrow space above a neighborhood music store. Upright pianos stood open along one wall. Replacement felt, wire, hammers, and tuning pins filled shallow drawers. Willa completed schoolwork at a small desk near the window. 2 days later, Odessa arrived carrying a plain folder. The Gala's production vendor had billed the trust $9,800 for concert piano preparation. Bastien's original invoice was $1,200. He showed her the carbon copy. The vendor had not forged his work. Its contract allowed management markups and bundled technical services. But the trust had coded the entire expense to scholarships rather than fundraising. The same pattern appeared in lighting, flowers, donor transportation, and luxury hotel rooms. No one had stolen a suitcase of money. The organization had treated restricted youth funds as the easiest account to charge because Gala revenue eventually replenished it. Sometimes it did. Sometimes it did not. The scholarship shortfall grew quietly. The review found another problem. Auditions were described as blind, but final round packets included school names, teacher recommendations, and donor affiliations. Applicants connected to major donors received informal readiness points that did not appear in the public criteria. Willa's performance score ranked 4th. Her final ranking was 9th. Bastian closed the folder. Do not tell her that until every family receives the same explanation. Odessa studied him. You are not asking me to fix her result. Fix the process. That was the moment her respect for him changed into something more dangerous. Not attraction alone, trust. Odessa invited Bastian to join a paid temporary advisory group with teachers, parents, student advocates, and working musicians. He accepted only after the outside counsel confirmed that Willa's application would be handled independently. Their meetings were difficult. Odessa wanted immediate suspension of the Gala program. Several teachers warned that canceling it would remove the only paid performance opportunity many students received. Bastian proposed separating fundraising spectacle from student assessment. Students could perform if they chose. No appearance would add scholarship points. No donor could sit on an adjudication panel. Applicant identities would remain coded until scores were final. Expenses would be split between restricted and unrestricted accounts before approval, not repaired afterward. The donor relations director from the hallway was interviewed. His account matched the security recording. He had faced real access problems that evening, but he had ignored verification steps and used physical control when there was no threat. The board placed him on leave during review. Odessa refused suggestions to fire him from the Gala stage or release the footage. Accountability did not require spectacle. During late meetings, Bastian began noticing what the ballroom had hidden. Odessa counted exits when she entered a room. She sat where she could see the door. When someone played the opening bars of the concerto from her televised collapse, her right hand closed around her left wrist. One evening, he struck his brass tuning fork and placed its base against the workshop's wooden table. The note spread through the surface as a quiet vibration. Willa's mother used this when students panicked before recitals, he said. One note, no audience, nothing to finish. Odessa placed 2 fingers against the table. The vibration faded. I have not played in 14 years. Bastian slid the tuning fork back into its blue velvet sleeve. Then nobody gets to ask for a performance. Odessa looked at him for a long time. The independent review ended 6 weeks later. Its findings were serious enough to require repayment to the scholarship fund and changes to trustee oversight. They were also complicated enough that several board members wanted a quiet settlement. Odessa refused. The night before the report was scheduled for release, 3 major donors threatened to withdraw unless their names were removed from the findings. Odessa did not publish donor names that the evidence did not require. She published the system that had favored them. The report explained how restricted funds were misclassified, how undisclosed affiliations entered final round packets, and how appeals were handled without written standards. It included corrective amounts, deadlines, and independent monitoring. The trust repaid the scholarship account from unrestricted reserves. It ended the Gala vendor's contract through the ordinary termination clause. The donor relations director received a formal conduct finding and did not return to guest management. He later sent Odessa a private apology that did not ask for forgiveness. 2 major donors left. 4 smaller donors increased their support after reading the reforms. The next scholarship cycle started 3 months late. Every finalist auditioned behind a screen. Students were identified by random numbers. Judges signed conflict disclosures. Written feedback went to every applicant, and an appeal could challenge procedure but not taste. Odessa did not know Willa's number. Bastian did not enter the building. He waited at a diner across the street, with the brass tuning fork in his coat pocket, striking it once against his knee. whenever his imagination became louder than reason. Willa received the third of 6 scholarships. It covered weekly lessons and part of a summer ensemble program. She read the decision twice, then asked who had placed first. Bastien laughed. Someone who played better that day. Good. The advisory group ended when the new policy took effect. Bastien submitted a sealed bid for the trust's piano maintenance contract. Odessa recused herself. An independent facilities manager selected another technician whose price was lower. Bastien accepted the result without resentment. 2 weeks later, that technician called and offered him subcontract work on the historic concert grand because Bastien knew its rebuilt action. The arrangement was smaller than winning the contract. It was also fair. Odessa remained chair, but she changed what the position meant. Student performers were no longer photographed without separate family consent. Gala appearances were optional. Scholarship judges never attended donor dinners during a scoring cycle. Restricted accounts could not cover fundraising costs, even temporarily. The winter gala continued, but it became simpler. Fewer flowers. No hotel rooms charged to children. More paid work for young musicians. Odessa and Bastien did not begin dating while he advised the trust. They met in public rooms, copied counsel on decisions, and kept Willa's application outside every conversation. After the new cycle closed, Odessa asked him to coffee. She chose the neighborhood music store below his workshop, where a machine near the register produced coffee strong enough to remove varnish. Bastien brought 2 cups upstairs. They talked for an hour without discussing budgets. Odessa told him that becoming chair had not healed the 17-year-old on the televised stage. It had only given the adult a chance to stop repeating what happened to her. Bastien told her that after Celia died, he had confused steadiness with silence. Willa sometimes needed to see him miss her mother instead of watching him repair every broken thing before dinner. Their affection grew without rescue. Odessa attended Willa's summer ensemble concert and sat near an exit. Bastien visited a board meeting only when a piano needed work. Willa judged Odessa's taste in snack food and found it inadequate. By autumn, Odessa could remain in a rehearsal room while someone practiced the concerto she had abandoned. She still did not touch the piano. No one asked her to. A year after the hallway incident, the trust opened a smaller rehearsal center in a converted library annex. The rooms had adjustable lighting, quiet waiting spaces, instrument storage, and doors children could open without assistance. Students helped choose the design. Parents reviewed consent forms before cameras entered. Bastien tuned the center's upright piano before the opening. Willa waited with her cello. Odessa arrived early in a deep jade dress, without a speechwriter or photographer. She walked through each room, checked the exits out of habit, and stopped beside the piano. Bastien struck the brass tuning fork. The clear A moved through the soundboard. Odessa rested her fingertips on the wood. "One note," she said. "Nothing to finish," Bastien replied. She sat on the bench. Her first chord was too soft. Her second held. She played 4 simple measures from a scale exercise, not the concerto that had once trapped her beneath cameras. Then she stopped. Nobody applauded. Willa lifted her cello and answered with the same 4 measures. Odessa looked at her and smiled. Bastien placed the tuning fork in its faded blue velvet sleeve and set it beside the repaired ribbon on Willa's case. The opening later filled with students, parents, and teachers. Odessa spoke for less than 2 minutes. Bastien remained near the piano. Willa joined the youth ensemble without being introduced as anyone's symbol. That evening, after the last family left, Odessa helped stack ordinary folding chairs. Bastien locked the piano. Willa carried her cello toward the door, the blue ribbon brushing her sleeve. Odessa paused in the same kind of corridor where Bastien had first defended her. This time, no one demanded a title or invitation. Bastien offered his hand. She took it. They walked out behind Willa into the cool harbor night, while the single clear note of the tuning fork seemed to remain in the quiet room. Small, steady, and finally belonging to no audience at all.